My friend, do not mistake silence for absence. When you are quiet, when you choose peace instead of revenge, when you let go and trust in God's unseen hand, that is not weakness, that is divine strategy. For there are moments when God does not speak because He is already moving. There are moments when you see no proof, yet God has already begun to deal with those who have caused you pain. You may not see the fire, but it is already burning in the invisible. You may not see the wind, but it is already shifting the course of justice. God is never still when His child has been wounded with unfairness, betrayal, or deceit. The silence of God is not neglect, it is the sound of preparation. Many times, we wonder, why does it seem like those who hurt me are prospering? Why do they walk freely while I cry in secret? Why does their laughter echo while my heart aches? My friend, hear me clearly. When it looks like the wicked are winning, that is often the moment God begins to move. For the ways of God are higher than human understanding. When God decides to deal with someone who has touched His chosen one, He does not announce it with thunder or lightning. He does it quietly, powerfully, and perfectly. He works in a way that no one can resist, no one can reverse, and no one can escape. There are signs, sacred, undeniable signs that God is dealing with those who wronged you. These signs are not always visible to the eyes, but they are deeply felt in the spirit. You sense the shifting of energy, the quiet rearrangement of circumstances, the subtle reversal of positions. You begin to see that the one who once stood against you is now standing before God's correction. The one who once mocked your pain is now tasting the bitterness of their own actions. For God is not mocked. Whatever a person sows, they will surely reap. But when God deals with them, it is not only punishment, it is revelation. God does not destroy to prove a point. He disciplines to awaken the conscience. When God starts to deal with those who hurt you, one of the first signs is restlessness in their spirit. They cannot find peace. The same way they disturbed your life, their own peace becomes disturbed. You may not see it on their face, but deep inside, their mind begins to feel unsettled. Sleep evades them. Joy escapes them. Satisfaction disappears. This is how God begins His dealings, by removing the comfort of sin. He takes away the ease of wrongdoing. He shakes the mind that once felt untouchable. That person begins to feel a strange unease, a quiet pressure they cannot name, a haunting they cannot silence. They may appear confident outwardly, but inwardly they wrestle with an invisible weight. That is the first sign that God's hand has touched them. Then comes another sign, the slow reversal of fortune. You will notice that the one who tried to block you now faces blockage in their own path. The one who laughed at your downfall begins to experience their own setbacks. The same doors they slammed in your face are now closing in theirs. They find that what once came easily now resists them. What once seemed secure begins to crumble. This is not coincidence, this is correction. God does not delight in revenge, but He is the God of justice. When people try to bury you, they forget that you are seed. And every seed buried by injustice grow back stronger under the hand of God. When God is dealing with them, their plans begin to fail quietly. They can work hard, but fruit does not come. They can push forward, but progress does not follow. They can try to appear strong, but life itself resists them. For when God set Himself against a person, everything around them begins to shift. The favor that once covered them fades. The allies that once stood beside them begin to drift away. It is not your doing. It is God rebalancing divine order. And then there is another sign. Your peace returns. You stop feeling the sting of their actions. You begin to feel detached from the pain they caused. The wound that they opened no longer controls your emotions. You start to sense that God has lifted the burden of your soul. That inner calm is not just healing, it is a signal that God has taken your case personally. When your heart stops fighting, it's because God has started fighting for you. When your tears stop flowing, it's because God has begun to pour out His own justice. When you no longer crave an apology, it's because God has already spoken a word of vindication in your favor. Do not be surprised if one day you hear that the person who hurt you is now going through a storm. Do not gloat, do not rejoice, but understand God has remembered your tears. God never forgets the one who cried in silence. He never overlooks the one who chose mercy when revenge was easy. He never ignores the pain of the righteous. The very people who thought they escaped consequences will soon face the mirror of their own actions. Not because God hates them, but because God loves truth. And truth must always rise. Sometimes, when God is dealing with them, He exposes their actions in front of others. Secrets begin to come to light. Lies start to unravel. What was hidden behind false smiles begin to surface. God allows the world to see what you already knew in your spirit. He does not do this to embarrass them, but to reveal that He is not blind. God allows exposure to protect the innocent and to remind the guilty that every hidden thing will eventually meet the light. When people think they can harm others and still appear righteous, God interrupts their performance. He removes the mask piece by piece until truth stands tall. But my friend, do not let bitterness enter your heart when this happens. God's justice is not invitation for revenge. It is a reminder of His authority. When you see the tables turn, remain humble. When you see them fall into the trap they set for you, stay silent and thankful. For your silence is more powerful than any words. God honors those who remain quiet while He works. Your restraint allows Him to act fully. When you refuse to fight with the same weapon, you show God you trust His higher wisdom. And often, when God deals with someone who hurt you, you will notice another sign. They begin to seek forgiveness indirectly. They may not say it outright, but their behavior changes. They start to avoid confrontation. They act softer around you. Or they suddenly show kindness. You might think they have changed on their own, but no, God has touched their heart. Guilt has begun to speak louder than pride. Their conscience, once silent, now trembles in the presence of truth. This inner awakening is divine correction. When God deals with a person, He begins inside and not outside. He dismantles arrogance. He weakens stubbornness. He replaces indifference with conviction. Sometimes God does not punish outwardly. Instead, He allows the person to live under the weight of realization. That realization is heavier than any external punishment. It is the moment that they see your worth after losing your presence. It is the moment they realize they fought against the very one who was sent to bless them. That is divine justice, not to destroy them, but to make them see what they destroyed. God allows people to taste the consequences of their choices so they may never repeat them again. Do not misunderstand. God's dealings are not always instant. Sometimes He waits. He waits until your heart is healed enough to witness the truth without bitterness. He waits until your spirit is ready to understand that justice is not vengeance, it is restoration. When you are ready, He shows you that everything they did against you has turned into a tool for your elevation. Their betrayal pushed you closer to divine wisdom. Their rejection pushed you toward God's embrace. Their lies made you seek truth more deeply. Every wound they caused became a door to revelation. That is how God turns pain into promotion. When you walk with God, you must understand something sacred. You are not permitted to fight every battle. Some battles are too holy for your hands. Some wrongs are too delicate for human anger. There are situations where your silence is your greatest weapon. When you choose not to respond, you are telling God, I trust you to handle this. And God never disappoints the one who trusts Him. He sees your restraint and honors it with victory. He sees your patience and rewards it with restoration. And when He begins to deal with them, you will feel it in your spirit before you see it in your life. You will wake up one day and feel a lightness you can't explain. You will sense that a shift has occurred in the unseen. You will notice blessings flowing more freely, opportunities appearing more easily, peace surrounding you like a shield. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. God has cleared the path that was once blocked by injustice. He has removed those who stood against your progress. He has made space for your elevation. God's dealings are never cruel. They are perfect. He knows exactly how to bring a person to humility without destroying their soul. He knows how to let a person taste their own action just enough to awaken wisdom. You see, when people hurt you and walk away as if nothing happened, they are not escaping justice. They are walking into divine teaching. And God's teaching is not like a human punishment. It is deeper, quieter, more transformative. It changes not only their situation but their heart. And sometimes the greatest sign that God is dealing with those who hurt you is not what happens to them, it is what happens to you. Your spirit begins to grow, your wisdom deepens, your understanding of life sharpens. You begin to thank God even for the betrayal. You start to see that the pain was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to position you. You realize that if they had not wronged you, you would have stayed in comfort instead of purpose. If they had not left you, you would not have leaned on God so deeply. If they had not betrayed you, you would not have found your strength. Sometimes God uses the actions of others to redirect you into your destiny. This is why the wise never chase revenge. They know God fights differently. God does not use anger. He uses alignment. He does not need to harm your enemies to bless you. He simply elevates you beyond their reach. He makes their words irrelevant. He makes their efforts powerless. He makes their influence vanish. That is how God deals with those who hurt you, by making you unshakable, untouchable, and undeniable. He shifts you to a level where no weapon formed against you can prosper. There are moments in life when you feel like God is silent while injustice roars. You look around and see those who wronged you walking proudly as if they were escaped every consequence, while you left picking up the piece of your heart. But listen carefully, silence does not mean neglect. God's silence is often the preparation of a divine revelation. When God decides to move, He moves with precision. When He decides to correct, He does so in a way that exposes hearts, teaches lesson, and restores balance. The same stillness that feels like a delay is actually divine calculation. Every second of your waiting is sacred. Every sigh of your pain is recorded. Every tear that falls is counted, for the God who sees all things does not overlook a single wound inflicted upon his faithful ones. God's dealings are not random, they are righteous. You must understand that divine justice is not built on human timelines. God may appear slow to act, but when he rises, his judgment is final and fair. Those who hurt you will have to stand before the truth of their own actions. They will come face to face with the very reality they try to deny. And when that moment comes, they will realize that what you endured in silence was not weakness, it was endurance ordained by God. It was the quiet strength of one who trusted the unseen hand rather than the temporary power of the proud. The problem is that we often want to witness the justice of God immediately. We want to see the fall of those who caused us pain. But if God moved on your demand, his justice would look like your anger, and anger is not pure enough to carry the weight of his righteousness. God's justice is not fueled by emotion, it is driven by holiness. He waits until your heart is purified from bitterness, so that when he vindicates you, you want to rejoice over the fall of your enemy. You rejoice over the righteousness of God. You will say, God, I thank you not because they suffer, but because truth prevails. And here is the sacred mystery. Sometimes the way God deals with those who hurt you is not through destruction, but through exposure to themselves. He let them see their own emptiness. He let them taste the fruit of their deception. He allows them to live in the shadow of their own choices until they realize how far they have fallen from peace. It is not always fire from heaven that humbles a person. Sometimes it's the quiet removal of favor, the loss of meaning, the emptiness that no pleasure can fill. That is divine correction, when a heart begins to understand the pain it has caused without anyone having to say a word. But do not miss this truth. God does not deal with them to entertain your pain. He deals with them to restore divine balance. Every act of injustice disturbs a spiritual order. When someone intentionally harms another, they plant chaos into the atmosphere, and God, who governs all things with precision, cannot allow that chaos to rule forever. So he steps in, not with a human fury, but with a divine restoration. He rearranges situations, redirect paths, and reset destiny until the balance is restored. You may not notice it immediately, but over time, you will see the invisible hand of God putting everything back where it belongs. And while God is dealing with them, he is also refining you. Your pain is not punishment, it is preparation. God uses the wounds of betrayal to sharpen your discernment. He uses rejection to teach you detachment from false attachments. He uses a delay to strengthen your trust in his timing. Every tear has a purpose. Every heartbreak has a lesson. Every loss carries a seed of transformation. You are not just waiting for God to deal with others. God is dealing with you too, shaping your heart, maturing your spirit, and aligning your destiny with his wisdom. Many times, when God begins to deal with those who hurt you, he first removes you from their reach. He separates you from the battlefield so you won't interfere with his process. You may wonder why certain relationship ended so abruptly, why communication suddenly stopped, why certain people disappeared without explanation. But this separation is not rejection, it's protection. God cannot correct them while you are still attached emotionally. He must pull you out of their orbit to begin his unseen work. He removes you not to punish you, but to preserve your peace. And while He works, He watches your response. Will you complain or will you trust? Will you curse or will you bless? Will you gossip about those who wronged you or will you remain still and silent? For your reaction determines how much God can release. When He sees that your heart has chosen peace over vengeance, He releases the full weight of divine justice. When He sees that you have mastered your emotions, He vindicates you openly. That is why the wise never argue, never defend themselves before people, because they know God defends them in ways human word never could. Do not think that those who wronged you can outrun divine order. They may hide behind false appearances, but the truth always finds its way to the surface. God is patient, but not permissive. He waits, but He never forgets. Even when the world seems to celebrate the wicked, it is only temporary. Pride is a balloon that inflates quickly, but bursts suddenly. Those who exalt themselves on the pain of others rise fast but fall hard. It is written in the very law of creation, what goes up in arrogance will come down in humility. And when that fall happens, you will not need to say a word. You will not need to announce your victory or prove your innocence. The same mouth that once accused you will confess the truth. The same eyes that once doubted you will witness your elevation. And you will stand not as a conqueror over them, but as a testimony of what happens when someone trusts God completely. For nothing speaks louder than divine vindication. Nothing silences the accuser like visible favor. Nothing confuses the proud more than watching the one they try to destroy being blessed beyond reason. You see, God does not just deal with them. He uses their actions as a stage to display His glory in your life. He allowed their betrayal to open the door to your destiny. He allows their rejection to push you toward the place you were meant to be all along. You may think they set you back, but in truth, they set you free. Because sometimes you cannot reach your next level until certain people are removed. God will use the harm others caused as fuel for your transformation. What they meant for harm, God reassigns for your advancement. So when you see those who wronged you facing consequences, do not gloat. That is not your moment to celebrate. It is your moment to reflect. Remember how easily you too could have fallen into the same pride, the same deception, the same blindness. Pray that they learn, that they grow, that they understand the weight of what they've done. Because true victory is not in watching them fall. It's in watching truth restore. Balance and peace to all. God's justice is never about destruction. It is always about transformation. And here is a truth, if you understand. Sometimes God's dealing with those who hurt you will include blessing them temporarily, not to reward them, but to test them. He will give them opportunities to change. He will show them favor to reveal whether their hearts have truly turned. If they repent and grow, the mercy of God covers them. But if they use that blessing to continue in arrogance, their fall becomes even greater. That is why you must never envy temporary success. Not every rise is divine. Some are just a setup before correction. Meanwhile, as God works on them, He is also elevating you. He is giving you new strength, new wisdom, new peace. The very pain that once broke you becomes your greatest teacher. You begin to understand people differently. You begin to sense energy that doesn't align with your spirit. You stop chasing validation and start seeking alignment with God. This is how the faithful rise, not through revenge, but through revelation. You begin to see that every hurt was an instrument in God's hand shaping your destiny. And when your spirit reaches that place of maturity, you no longer even desire to see your enemies punished. You simply desire to see truth reign. You stop saying, God, deal with them, and start saying, God, let your will be done. Because once you experience divine elevation, you realize that peace is the real victory. You realize that your progress is the greatest evidence that God has already handled everything that tried to harm you. One day, those who hurt you will look back and realize that they never really hurt you. They helped you become everything God intended you to be. Their cruelty carved strength into your soul. Their rejection forced you into deeper prayer. Their betrayal revealed your purpose. And when that realization dawns upon them, they will understand that they were never your enemy. They were instruments used by God to refine you. When God begins to move, nothing can stand in His way. No human scheme, no hidden agenda, no false accusation can overpower the divine will. You must understand that when someone touches the one who walks with God, they do not merely offend the person, they interfere with the divine purpose, and God will never allow His purpose to be dishonored. This is why those who hurt you may seem to flourish for a while, but deep within, their foundation start to crack. What looks like a success is only the calm before divine correction. God allows them to walk in illusion for a time so that when the truth arrives, the contrast between deceit and divine justice will be undeniable. When God deals with those who hurt you, He does not need your permission nor your involvement. His justice is not dependent on your reaction. It flows from His eternal nature. You must learn to let go. For the same hand that defends you will also discipline those who wrong you. And when He acts, His ways are both merciful and precise. He measures every outcome to ensure that no one suffers beyond what awakens their soul. When God corrects, He aims not to destroy, but to restore the balance of righteousness that was broken by human pride. This is the divine mystery. Sometimes the one who caused your greatest pain becomes the instrument through which God brings your greatest lesson. Sometimes the betrayal that shattered your heart becomes the key that unlocks your destiny. You see, those who hurt you unknowingly serve a purpose they cannot comprehend. They think they are opposing you, but in truth, they are assisting your transformation. Every insult builds endurance. Every rejection fortifies faith. Every wound forces you deeper into divine dependence. When people harm you, they push you closer to the source of your strength, God Himself. Do not be deceived by appearances. Just because you do not see thunder does not mean judgment is absent. God often works in silence, but His silence carries power. He allows time to reveal character. He allows space for repentance. But when the moment of justice arrives, He strikes with perfection. No one can outrun divine timing. The one who lied about you will one day live in the shadow of their own words. The one who betrayed your trust will one day yearn for the peace they once mocked. The one who plotted your downfall will one day stand amazed as you rise above everything they used to control. There are divine laws that govern existence. One of them is this: what you sow, you must reap. When a person chooses cruelty, deceit, or malice, they are planting seeds of their own misfortune. They may not feel it immediately, but every act has a return. God allows time for the harvest to mature, and when it does, the fruit of injustice becomes impossible to ignore. And while others are facing the consequence of their actions, God will ensure that you are standing tall in peace, untouched and favored. You will not have to explain yourself because your life will speak for you. You may not understand this now, but there will come a moment when you will thank God for allowing those people to hurt you. You will look back and realize that their rejection was divine protection. You will see that their cruelty was the furnace that refined your strength. You will understand that their absence was necessary for your elevation. God sometimes allows pain not to punish you, but to position you. The heartbreak was the key to awakening your true identity. The betrayal was the pathway to your deeper calling. And when you finally arrive at the place God has prepared for you, you will know that everything worked together for your purification, not your destruction. When God deals with those who hurt you, He does so in stages. First, He exposes. Then, He corrects. And finally, He elevates you. He allows them to be revealed so that no one can claim ignorance. He allows them to face themselves so that truth can be seen. Then He lifts you up, not as revenge, but as testimony. Your success becomes silent proof of divine justice. Your peace becomes living evidence that God's wisdom surpasses human plots. You do not have to speak against them. Your blessings will speak for you. Your composure will speak louder than any accusation. Sometimes the greatest sign that God has dealt with them is not their fall, but your peace. You wake up one morning and realize you no longer carry the weight of what they did. You can think of them without bitterness. You can remember the past without pain. That is divine healing, and it is also divine justice. Because when God heals your heart, He renders the wound powerless. Those who hurt you lose their grip on your soul. You are no longer defined by what they did, but by what God brought out of it. That is when you know that victory is complete, not when they suffer, but when you are free. And yet, while God is dealing with them, He expects you to keep your heart pure. Do not curse them, even in thought. Do not wish for their destruction. Leave them in the hands of the one who knows what they need to learn. For vengeance contaminates the soul, but mercy elevates it. When you choose forgiveness, you are not excusing their behavior. You are releasing yourself from the spiritual chain that ties you to their wrongdoing. God can only fight fully for the one who lets go completely. As long as your heart holds anger, you are still connected to the same energy that once wounded you. But once you release it, God's justice flows like a river, unstoppable and perfect. There will come a time when those who wronged you will be reminded of every word they spoke against you. God will place before them the mirror of truth, and they will see themselves clearly without illusion, without pretense. And that realization will hurt more than any punishment. That is the power of divine correction. It awakens the conscience. It shows people who they really are, not who they pretend to be. And through that awakening, some will find repentance, while others will fall under the weight of their own choices. But either way, justice will be served. And you who have been hurt, you will walk in peace, for you will understand that nothing was wasted. Every trial carried a blessing in disguise. Every attack pushed you further into your calling. Every loss cleared the path for your next level. What they meant to destroy you, God used to construct you. The pain they caused became the soil in which your wisdom grew. You are no longer the same. You are wiser, calmer, and more anchored in faith. You have learned that God is your ultimate defender, that you do not need to respond to every injustice, because divine justice never misses its target. So the next time someone wrongs you, do not despair. Do not waste your energy plotting answers or defending yourself before people. Simply say in your heart, God, I leave this matter in your hands. And then step back, let Him walk. For the moment you surrender the battle, you invite divine intervention. And when God takes over, everything shifts. The power of truth moves like wind, unseen but unstoppable. You will see things begin to unfold, not through chaos, but through divine alignment. People will start to see the truth without you saying a word. The very ones who believe the lies about you will begin to question what they heard. The one who deceived others will find themselves isolated by their own actions. This is not your doing. This is God's justice weaving reality into balance. Do not measure God's timing by your pain. He sees what you cannot. He knows what must be done to bring lasting change. If He delayed, it is because the delay was necessary for the lesson. If He waited, it was because He was preparing a greater outcome than you could imagine. For when God finally acts, the restoration will be so complete that you will no longer even desire to look back. The same people who hurt you will have no power to disturb your peace. The same circumstances that broke you will become the proof of your resilience. You will see that your endurance was never in vain. Your tears were not wasted. Your silence was not ignored. God was working in the invisible, orchestrating a perfect conclusion. Those who hurt you thought they had the final word, but God always has the last move. And when He speaks, all confusion ends, all lies dissolve, and all truth stands radiant. You will not need to fight for recognition. God Himself will announce your vindication through the peace, success, and joy that follow you. Therefore, walk with confidence, not in yourself, but in God's unshakable justice. You may not understand what He is doing, but trust that He is doing something greater than your understanding. One day, everything will make sense. You will see how God turned injustice into instruction, betrayal into breakthrough, and pain into power. And when that day comes, you will no longer ask, why did they hurt me? You will instead whisper, thank you, God, for turning it all for my good. For that is the mystery of divine justice. It does not only deal with those who hurt you, it transforms you into someone who can no longer be hurt by the same wound again. And now, my beloved, hear this truth deep within your spirit. When God begins to deal with those who have hurt you, it is not a moment for vengeance. It is a moment for revelation. It is a moment when the invisible justice of heaven becomes visible in your life. You may not see it immediately, but God's dealings are never delayed, never unjust, and never mistaken. When He begins to move, He moves perfectly. He sees the tears you cried in silence. He knows the sleepless nights you endured, whispering prayers no one else heard. And He, in His perfect time, begin to act not out of your bitterness, but out of His righteousness. Do not let resentment darken your heart. God is not just fighting for you, He is shaping you. Every time you chose forgiveness instead of hatred, you became more like the person He destined you to be. Every time you remained silent while others lied about you, God took note. Every time you walked away from conflict, trusting His timing, the heavens recorded your restraint. And now, as He begins to deal with those who wronged you, He is also elevating you. Because divine justice is not just about punishment, it's about preparation. God does not only correct your enemies, He perfects you. The truth is this: you don't have to prove anything to those who hurt you. You don't have to explain yourself to those who misunderstood you. You don't have to fight battles that God has already claimed as His own. When God deals with those who hurt you, your only responsibility is to remain still. Stay pure. Stay faithful. Stay calm. Because the same God who watched you suffer quietly will make sure you are vindicated publicly. The same God who allowed the pain will use it to elevate you. The same God who permitted betrayal will transform it into blessing. So do not chase after those who wronged you. Do not hope for their downfall. Do not wish them harm. Let God handle it. His ways are higher than yours. His justice is sharper than yours. His timing is wiser than yours. You may think they got away with what they did, but no one escapes the eyes of God. The unseen hand of heaven is already rearranging the story. God is already visiting the hearts of those who hurt you. Some He will humble, others He will change. Some He will remove from your path entirely, and others He will return to you, transform. But in all things, He will make it clear that He was always on your side.